Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History. It's February 10th, and on this day in 1962, another 4-minute barrier was cracked. So, most folks know that British runner Roger Bannister recorded the first sub-4-minute mile in May of 1954. It was a human feat that for the longest time, the majority of people that had ever lived on this planet thought was unobtainable. But once the barrier was broken, several stepped through that void. Now, of course, Bannister's record was outside, which is not to minimize that one bit, but it took nearly another 8 years before the feat of a sub-4-minute mile could be duplicated indoors, and the man who crashed through it has been mostly lost to history, except in the most niche of running circles. So, a couple of things first. One, the mile used to be a really big deal. It has a long and rich history that dates back to the late 19th century. It was a distance that was regularly contested with 20th century stars such as Finland's Paavo Nurmi, Americans Jim Ryan and Wes Santee, Australian John Landy, and of course Bannister, pushing the boundaries on what was thought to be humanly possible. You can still find mile races, such as the Wanamaker Mile and the Bowerman Mile at the Prefontaine Classic, but with most of the world on the metric system, it is not an Olympic event. There's the 1,500 meter, which is called the metric mile, but that falls short. Secondly, running an indoor mile is slower than running one outside on a 400-meter track. Indoor tracks have tighter turns and more of them. Indoor tracks are usually built to fit into a space and can be 200 meters or even 160 meters. Now, couple a smaller track with some science, more accurately physics with centrifugal forces pushing the runner outward, and so when you enter a turn, you either have to slow down a little or work exceptionally hard to stay in the lane, using more energy to counteract that physics pushing you outward. So it's with all that information that leads to what happened on this day in 1962 at the Los Angeles Sports Arena. American Jim Beatty became the first person in the world to run a sub-4-minute mile indoors. Beatty, a North Carolina native, had been a distance man in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, running the 5,000 meter. Well, on this night, a full house of 13,000 fans were in the seats to hopefully watch history being made as Beatty suited up for the Los Angeles Track Club, running with 3 LATC runners with the intent on assaulting the indoor mile record. Jim McKay and ABC Sports broadcast it live. The gun to start the race fired at 10:15 that night, and it would be over before it hit 10:19. The group ran the first quarter in 59.1 seconds, with Beatty getting paced by his teammates. Coming out of the corner on the 8th lap, Beatty slingshot his way past his final pacer and picked up the pace considerably. He sprinted out of the final turn and broke the tape in an astounding 3 minutes, 58.9 seconds, to become the first person to go sub-4 indoors. Beatty became known as Mr. Indoor, with Bannister Mr. Outdoor. Reflecting on his feat 60 years later, Beatty said, being the very first to accomplish something special, well, that can never be taken away. It is everlasting. Also on this day, in 1996, IBM's Deep Blue defeated a chess champion for the first time, taking down then-current world champ Gary Kasparov. And in 2012, Linsanity went into the stratosphere. The New York Knicks' Jeremy Lin dropped 38 in a 92-85 win against Kobe Bryant and the LA Lakers. In the run-up to the game, Kobe had been asked what he thought of Jeremy and the whole Linsanity craze. He said he didn't know what they were talking about. On this night, hope he got a front row seat of the frenzy. That's all for today. More tomorrow on This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.